Hello and welcome to another 2022 player report card, and I feel like I am running out of a bit of time with these, but so be it. I have enjoyed doing them, to be perfectly honest, but I was going to combine both Jack Carroll, number 16, and Brody Kemp, number 17, on our list. But as I sunk my teeth into Jack Carroll's report card, I felt like it just needed one by itself. So here we go. Jack Carroll, age number 9. Oh, sorry, he's age number 19. He's 19 years of age. He won't be 20 until December 20. And he was the youngest player taken in the 2020 draft. Just scraped in. Played the 5 games this year, so that's his career games as well. He is a high half forward. Well, that was the role he played when he came into the team in round 7 against the Kangaroos. Spent a little bit of time at centre bounces as well as an inside mid, or he thought it was an inside mid role, but his stats at AFL level may suggest otherwise. At VFL level, a variety of roles, particularly through the middle of the ground, a little bit of time on the wing. Contract 2024, signed a 2-year deal to remain at Princess Park until the end of 2024, which is good. Got some time on his side. Pick number 41 in the 220 draft, we got Durden at pick 37. That's Corey Durden. We didn't have a first-round draft pick in 220, so they appear to be pretty good picks by Nick Austin. I think Carroll showed enough, in his 2 years at the club to suggest there could be a future. Season snapshot, I was able to get to a couple of those open training sessions in the pre-season, and he was flying. He put a lot of weight on. He was covering the ground. He was impressive in match sim. They were using him through the midfield, and just looking at him in the pre-season, the way he was going, it's no surprise that he made his debut this year. However, as much as it was a good pre-season, I don't think he was ever going to be in consideration to playing that first game against Richmond, but he did cop a bit of a knee injury just before the start of the year, and he didn't come into the VFL until round 4. He played back-to-back games against Richmond and Werribee, both wins, and picked up 23 and 27 disposals respectively at VFL level, including a terrific game against Werribee at Chernside Park, a great win for our VFL reserves team down there at Werribee. Always a difficult place to win, and he was outstanding with those 27 touches and kicked 2 classy goals. He certainly put his name up in lights. And the following week, he was named as an emergency. However, on the 30th of April, he made his debut against North Melbourne at Marvel Stadium. Not interesting, but he was preferred over Paddy Down, who was in terrific form at VFL level. They wanted to give the kid an opportunity and a chance. And he came in, he was an emergency, but he came in because Hewitt, who'd had a calf problem, was touch and go, was named in the team on the Thursday night, and then Michael Voss in his Friday press conference before the game said that, I think he said that Hewitt had pulled up sore and was going to be a late out, or it was a late out, and Carroll will make his debut against North Melbourne. So he became Carlton player number 1,229 to make a senior debut at the footy club. And better still, he kicked a goal with his first kick against the Kangas. So he joins that illustrious club. He then went on to play 5 consecutive senior games between rounds 7 and 11, including wins against North, Adelaide, both at Marvel Stadium, GWS away, Sydney back at Marvel, and then the loss against Collingwood. And it's fair to say he started off well, and then it gradually, across those 5 weeks, it got worse and worse until he was omitted, dropped after the Collingwood game, and spent the rest of the season in the VFL, including playing in the semi-final where he was outstanding against Brisbane in the wet with his 32 touches, which was a season high for him at VFL level. Looking back through his VFL results and stats, he didn't play in the elimination final against the Pies of Victoria Park. So I'm not quite sure what the issue was there, because he did play in the final home and away game against Collingwood in the VFL, but didn't play the following week. So maybe a few little niggles along the way for a young player in regards to his body and just managing him as well. 5 games at AFL level, so take these stats with a grain of salt. But the interesting one for me is, what role was he playing when he came into the seniors? It was that high half forward role and some time at centre bounces, which was good. I thought he was an inside mid, but he's elite. He was elite at uncontested possessions, but below average at contested possessions, and elite at clearances. So there's a little bit of a balance there in the role he was playing at AFL level. Definitely that high half forward role. A role that I think we're still trying to work through who that player is, who's going to be the most effective player to play that role, which is at times a difficult role to play. Above average in disposals, so he found the pill. He did, particularly in his first 2 games, found the pill, 13.2, inside 50s 2.6, and good meters gained as well, 250. Below average in tackles, 0.6 was a bit of a surprise. Average in pressure acts, 12.4. VFL stats just quickly across those 11 games, average 22 disposals, including that 32, as I mentioned in the final. He can tackle, but maybe is an area they really wanted to work on, because I did notice through his VFL stats, he never really got beyond 5 tackles in any game until the round 21 game against the eventual premiers in Casey, where he laid 10. So maybe that is a focus for him moving forward, is his tackling. I think he can do it. He's certainly got the size and the body for it down the track. Is it a concern in regards to hitting the scoreboard? Not quite sure. I mean, he kicked the goal with his first kick at AFL level, but only kicked 2 goals across those 11 games, and 2 of those goals came in 1 game. Unfair to look at best and worst games when you only played 5, but he did start well, in those first 2 games against admittedly against inferior opposition. I think it was a really good time to debut him, North and Adelaide. Maybe he went on a little bit too long. Maybe they probably should have played him for 3 games and then put him back in the VFL. But it is what it is. But, his debut, he was impressive. 19, 4 clearances and a goal. In his second game, 18 and 3 clearances. But it steadily got worse, and so much so. He was, it was unfortunate, but it did dip, and it dipped drastically. He made some horrible mistakes in that game against Collingwood at the G. There was a lot of pressure, big crowd. So it's understandable. He only had the 8 touches, and there was, as I mentioned, there was some sort of clangers, which were costly late in that game. And it was no surprise that he was dropped and made his way back to the VFL. I think his strengths, just watching him at VFL level compared to what we've seen at AFL level, there's no doubt when there's a little bit more time, the pressure's not as high and it's not as fast. He does show some class and some poise. And I think from my perspective, I'm just hoping as he matures, that he'll start to adjust to the pace of the game at AFL level. He's got incredible evasiveness, and I've likened him to Scott Pendlebury in that regards. That sidestep, we see it a lot at VFL level. Clean hands, good decision making, because he has that time and space. He's able to make that Is that what's the term used? Time just stops around him. He's a good size for a midfielder, and he's going to put on size. We've seen, we've seen his body grow over a 12-month period, and I think he's got some upside in regards to versatility. It looks like he does have a nice balance between inside and outside mid. And I think he's got some courage as well. I think as he gets older, we're going to see that. We're going to see that more and more. Weaknesses, as any young player's strength, tackling, contact, kicking under pressure. I think we've seen that. His kicking looks a little bit suspect because he's under a lot more pressure, and the pace of the game. He debuted and looked best against inferior opposition and Adelaide, and then dropped when it got a little bit quicker. And the pressure was on. For me, one word for Jack Carroll. I've just put apprenticeship. Second year at the football club. First one wiped out, really because of COVID. Didn't play a lot of football. Did show a bit in the games he did play, but the VFL season was cut short. Just a kid, and I think we've got from the outside looking in, feels like we've invested a lot more into development. We had to. It's been a bit of a shambles. So he's going to serve a pretty long apprenticeship, and he's afforded that, which probably others weren't. And he signed a 2-year deal until 2024, and there's nothing wrong with that. The best clubs do it. Their players, unless they're really ready to go, which he clearly isn't. I mean, he's no Sam Walsh. They serve their apprenticeship. They develop at the lower level. He's a kid. He's come out of the Colts in Western Australia. Straight into the big league at VFL level, which is a really strong competition. So, I think he's had that opportunity and got those 5 games this year where he just showed a little bit that there's something to work with there. I've given him a 5 out of 10. I mean, how do you judge a second-year player who's still 19, leaving home, WA, coming over to the big smoke, so to speak? It has to be a pass, 5 out of 10. He's played the 5 games this year and then went back to VFL level and impressed in a final as well. It's what will happen in the future. Who knows? I mean, just got to. I'm happy to cool my jets with Jack Carroll. I really like him. I really do. But that really means nothing, because who knows what's going to happen over the next 2 years. We just got to be patient. I think we can afford to be patient. We've got Hewitt, Cripps, Kennedy, Walsh, Chera, and you can probably throw Fisher into that midfield mix as well. We're stacked there. We appear to be stacked with some experience. And then there's the next layer. And there's question marks on the next layers, particularly Dow. Will he be at the club next year? Will Setterfield be at the club next year? We know Cunningham will be at the club next year, but there's an injury concern. These are all the players at the next level who are trying to knock on the door to get into that AFL team. And Jack Carroll is a part of that group now. I'll finish on by saying, though, with someone like Jack Carroll, is there will come a time where he will need to get a bit of a wriggle on. If he's still sort of playing VFL football deep into next year and he hasn't had many opportunities, then we start to ask a few questions. I think we would like to see him really make a significant step next year in year 3. Given the fact that he got the 5 games under his belt this year. What do you think, guys, on Jack Carroll? Do you like him? Can you see him having a long future at the Carlton Football Club? Look forward to your thoughts. Speak to you soon.